Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the YouTube channel grecochess, a channel dedicated to the various aspects of the game of chess. I'm your host, Harry Aziris, and in this video, we are going to complete the coverage of my participation in the Connecticut State Chess Championship. As you've seen the previous videos, I started to the lost round 1, win on round 2, and lost on round 3, and this is the last round 4. But before anything else, let's review the details of the tournament. And here is the relevant screen. It took place on Sunday, November 9th, 2025. The location was at Trinity College. It was a 4-round Swiss, meaning every player had to play a total of 4 games. And they could select their section depending on their rating. For the best players was the champion section. The winner would emerge as the Connecticut State Chess Champion. And if that was too high for you, there was the under 2200 if your rating was less than 2200. There was the under 1800, the one that I participated, under 1300, under 800, and some unrated sections. Time control for my sections for the higher sections was G45 plus 10. This means that when the game starts, players have 45 minutes on their clocks, and after every move on the game, they get extra 10 seconds, the so-called increment. And they need to complete all their moves before the time goes down to 0, because if the time goes down to 0, no matter what the position, they have timed out and they lose the game. Unless it's a non-winning for the other side, and then it's a draw. But let's now have a look at some photos of the venue that I took. From the outside, this is one photo. Second photo from the outside is this one here. And from the inside, this is the venue. And as you see, the organizers have set up the boards and the clocks and the pieces correctly in advance, so the players don't need to worry about these details. Organizers, thank you very much for making the players' life so much easier. Now we're going to see who was my opponent in the 4th round. His name is Lawrence Nee, and his rating is 1545. And compare this with myself, my rating is 1595. I have a higher rating, which meant that I was a favorite. But let's see what actually happened on the chessboard. We are once again going to the chessboard of chess.com. And you're going to see on the left half, I'm going to enter the moves one by one. I'm copying them from the score sheet. And computer will tell us, what does it think? Who is ahead? Positive number means white is better. Negative, that black is better. What does it think about the move? Was it brilliant, great, best, excellent, good, inaccuracy, mistake, or blunder? Or if it was a book move in the first few moves, what opening was played, which move would have been the best, and what are the 5 best options for the other player whose turn is to come? I had the white pieces, Lawrence had the black, and I start with my pawn going to e4. The king pawn opening until now, and my opponent, Lawrence, places his pawn on c6. This is called the Caro-Kann defense, named after 2 chess players with last names Caro and Kann that discovered it a little bit more than 100 years ago. When we start with Caro-Kann, usually white in second move places the pawn on d4 and black on d5. Battle to control the center. And now there are many options. I decided to play one that I was mostly familiar, even though the computer only has it as a fifth best. I take on d5, the opponent takes it back. This is the exchange variation. We have the Caro-Kann defense exchange variation. Then I develop my bishop to d3, and Lawrence places his knight on f6. Fight to control the center, especially the square e4. And at this moment, we completed the book moves, the opening theory, and we are on our own. My next move, bishop to f4. And I'm going to explain why, because it's not very obvious. I could usually they say knights before bishops. Why my bishop on f4? The reason being because I have a pawn on a dark colored square, d4, and my pawn on a light colored square. Most likely, a dark colored square's mine would be bad and my opponent's good, meaning mine would have less freedom than my opponent's. And in this case, why not exchange them? That is the reason why. Pawn to e6 for Lawrence. You see that he has three wonderful pawns on this chain on light-colored squares. Computer would rather have his bishop go to g4 because now it's constrained by the pawn on e6. We completed the first 5 moves and I have a small advantage of 0.45, mostly because I started first. Next move, my knight goes to f3, and now Lawrence will place his bishop on d6, and that is why we're going to exchange now, exactly as I had planned. Next move is kingside castling for both of us. My rook goes to e1. The semi-open e-file, semi-open because there is only one black pawn on e6 and no white pawn. Rooks would rather have open files, but if they cannot find them, the semi-opens is the second best option. And Lawrence develops his knight on c6. And he's attacking my pawn on d4. Yes, it's protected by my knight on f3, but I want to be free to move my knight if necessary. And I want to cover the pawn d4 with as less valuable piece as possible. And that's why I push my pawn to c3. And Lawrence prepares castling by pushing his pawn to b6. We completed the first 10 moves, and I have advantage a little bit larger, 0.73. It seems that things go nice my way, but let's see how will they continue. Next move, I place my knight on e5, and there is a mini trap. I say mini because it's too obvious. The real traps are the ones that it's very difficult for the opponent to see. What is the trap is if Lawrence doesn't like my knight on e5 and uses his knight to take it, then my pawn will grab it and there is a fork because the rook on e1 supports the pawn on e5, and Lawrence will lose at least a knight. In the meantime, he needs to keep his queen guarding the knight of c6, otherwise he loses a knight. How does he reply? Bishop to b7, so the knight on c6 gets second protection. My queen goes to f3 now. Why? I would like my queen to end up in h7 and the knight not to be on f6 because it's checkmate. And of course, I'm not expecting Lawrence to fall for that, but I want him to make as many concessions as possible trying to prevent it. Rook goes to e8 for Lawrence. And my queen goes to h3. He's staring at h7, the bishop is also there, but there is a knight on f6. And Lawrence is not going to wait for me to remove his knight somehow. That's why preemptively he pushes the pawn to h6. Which means that even if the knight on f6 would disappear, there is no checkmate. I know the pawn on h6, what can we do about it, but at least let's get rid of this knight. So my knight goes to g4. Mistakes as a computer would rather have me develop the other knight. Because now, yes, the knights are exchanged on g4, but there is no mate. And what will Lawrence do to minimize the chances of the mate in the future? Pawn to f5. So, mistakes as a computer attacks my queen, and my queen has something to do. We completed at this point the first 15 moves. I'm ahead by 0.38. What do? My queen goes to h3. I have already misses the computer, would rather have it go to g6. I have already won what's called a concession, meaning I have forced Lawrence to move the pawns in front of his king. By themselves, they mean very little, but who knows if in the future uh, I can get an advantage. And Lawrence is trying to attack my queen with the bishop to c8. Of course, currently doesn't attack it because there are the pawns on e6 and f5, but these pawns could disappear when you least expect it, and my queen would be in danger. In order to avoid such a possibility, queen goes to h5. And Lawrence wants to liberate his bishops as much as possible, so pawn goes to e5. So the pawn on c8 can go until f5 now. What do I do? Let's exchange. And here we completed the first 18 moves and I have a very small advantage of 0.08. And at this point, I calculated if his knight takes my bishop on d3, then my rook will take his rook on e8 and I win an exchange. And I want him. I want him to take my bishop. And here I did a huge mistake, what's called the hope chess. You hope your opponent will fall to something and you don't see what happens if your opponent does not fall. To seduce him to take my bishop, I develop my knight to d2, and computer says it's a blunder and you're going to see why. If Lawrence, of course, took my bishop on d3, I would take his rook on e8, and I have a large advantage. But Lawrence did not fall for that. In fact, he played for the strongest computer move, pawn to g6, which means that, look what is happening. My queen is attacked and my bishop on d3 is attacked. Of course, I felt very bad when I saw it. But what can I do? How can I save my bishop? There was only one move I could do, and that was not the correct. According to the computer, the best thing I should do is take the pawn on h6, lose my bishop, and put perhaps exchange the rooks. You see here what it says. That would have been the best possible option. I'm behind, but at least there is some hope. What I did is I put my queen on e2, and I was thinking if he takes, in accuracy, the computer, if he takes my bishop, at least I take back his bishop, exchange rooks, and at least I'm not behind. But Lawrence did something very smart. He placed his knight on g4, and when I saw it, I panicked, because until now I was hoping, okay, I didn't win the exchange, but at least I could end up even. And here is a catch, what's happening. Computer sees a great move, and really it's a great, because he has a double attack. h2 is mate, and if I defend it anyway, like pawn to g3 or any other way, I'll lose my queen. Of course, my queen for a rook. What could I do? If I move my queen, where can my queen be safe? If it goes to d1, check on h2, king to f1, queen to h1, checkmate. What else can I do? What if queen takes rook on e8? Well, again, queen to h2 check, king to f1, queen to h1 check, king to e2, and then rook takes the queen. And then really I have my king will go, for example, to d2, and then queen goes to e1 mate. So really, I was trying to minimize my losses, and what could I play? But before we reveal what I played and how things ended up, let me tell you, we completed the first 20 moves, and Now Lawrence started having, after a blunder, a huge advantage of 3.66. This is difficult to be overturned, but I was hoping, who knows, let's try. My knight goes to 3. I really follow the computer's best move, but it's only the best among horrible choices. And of course, Lawrence takes my queen. I dig back. What else can I do? Great moves the computer, but too obvious to be considered great. I take it back with my rook. Best move, but once again, best among horrible choices. Now that Lawrence cannot checkmate, and now that his knight on G4 did what he was supposed to do, meaning winning my queen, it goes back to F6. And I really started thinking, how can I minimize damage? Because in the past, I've been able to win, or at least sometimes even win games out of even worse positions than that. So let's double my rooks, only one. And who knows? Bishop to D7. My knight goes to E5, hoping to win something. Perhaps the pawn on G6. Rook goes to E8 for Lawrence. What can I do now? I said, let's develop along the queen side. Who knows if any of my pawns can go near promotion? Pipe dream, but Chris would say, ο πνιγμένος από τα μαλλιά του χάνεται. If you're drowning, you try yourself by pulling your hair. And Loris decides to push his pawn on G4, tries to exchange. Not the best, but he doesn't need his best. I take the knight. I lose my rook, and now at least I'm going to win a pawn on H6 check. King goes to H7. I win the rook, and Lawrence wins. My knight. What can I do now? The position is simplified. Any chance I can win my opponent's queen? Any chance I can promote? What can you do? Start pushing your pawns. Who knows? Hoping for the miracle. My pawn goes to B3 to start advancing on the queen side, and Lawrence sends his queen on A3. Completed 29 moves, another 30th is really a blunder that I made. I didn't even see it then. I was saying, who knows if at least I can win the pawn on D7, let's attack it, and even if his queen checks from A1, B1, C1, my bishop goes to F1. I don't have back rank. And of course, I was feeling so horrible, so terrible, that my mind could not think thoroughly. My rook goes to E7. And once I played it, Lawrence grabbed my rook on E7. At this point, I was down so much material, 8.08. After 30 moves, I resigned. Lawrence, congratulations. You kept your cool during a difficult moment. Congratulations for winning that game. And let's see what is the analysis. What does the computer think about the game? Not a very pleasant experience for me, quite painful. You see, I even had a small advance at some point, then it started going downhill all the way. But at least I had 80.1 accuracy and 90.5 in Lawrence, and computer thinks I played as if my rating was 2000. Really, it's difficult for me to trust it because I played a horrible game, and 2000 is quite above my level. Lawrence played for 2450. And let's see the various categories. No brilliancies, 2 great moves for Lawrence, best 8 for me, 11 for Lawrence, excellent 7 for me, 4 for Lawrence, good 7 for me, 5 for Lawrence. 4 book moves each of us, inaccuracies 1 for me, 2 for Lawrence. Mistakes 1 each, misses 1 each, and I had this horrible blunder that cost me the game. And now, as we conclude, let me go to the online tournament, see what is happening. Let's see first the one that I'm organizing, the grecochess. Nothing has changed. 8 games remaining. 6 out of the 8 belong to hunting achievements of Group 1 from France that still has not played a single move, and last time he logged in was October 20th. And he has how much time? 10 days to see if he'll participate or not. Otherwise, it's Maxim Govoruka from the Ukraine that advances. Group 2, Barak 7 from Israel. Group 4, Maisky from Italy. And Group 3, it is Maiser Tehari from Greece and the line from Hungary that are still fighting for the remaining spot. And let's go to the other tournament, the Underwater Moonlight. It's organized, the Nine Moons tournament organized by a subscriber, Zaniro from Italy. 495 games have completed, 153 to go, and let's see what's happening in the various groups. Group 1, Lotus Time Chess from Japan leads with 13.5 points. Can anybody reach him? Canon 1972 from the United States can only catch him if he wins all 7, and Lotus Time Chess loses the remaining 2. Is at least guaranteed a tie, and of course guaranteed advancing the next round. And Oli Kimbo from Australia has advanced. Let's give a look. Not exactly. He might be tied by Marco 1409 and might be passed by Canon 1970. So really, only Lotus Time Chess is guaranteed advancing the next round. Group 2. Spider 99 from Egypt leading with 11 points. Group 3, where the host, the organizer of the tournament, Sanilo from Italy, is participating. He completed with 10 points. Vien Caravanans from the United States leads with 11. And Maxim Govoruka has 9 points, but in 9 games, he's not only undefeated, but has not lost even half of a point. Group 4. Iraq Lion, 10 wins in 10 games, is leading. Also 100% performance with 10 points. Group 5. Chinan Fu from Greenland leads with 13 points. Most players have completed their game, so everything will be decided. There are going to be 3 out of the 4 players at the top. Chinan Fu from Greenland, I am MMT from Indonesia, Peon Perez from Palestine, and Master Excalibur from Scotland. These 4 people will compete for the 3 spots. Group 6. Mathis B 2008 from France. He has completed with 14.5 points and is leading and is guaranteed to advance. And who are the remaining? Then 2 more spots go between Munja 44 from Croatia, David 8x8x8x8 from Brazil, and Swaki from Eswatini. Group 7. General F66 from Uzbekistan has completed with 14.5 points. He is guaranteed he's advancing. Group 8, my group. Let's see what's happening. Things not going well for me at all. Khaled Katab from Egypt leads with 8.5. Gugu Ship Original from European Union is second with 8 points, but both of them have quite a few games to go. Myself have completed all of my games with 7.5 points in third place. And if any of the remaining 6 players reaches 8 points, they are going to pass me. And at least 2 of them are very near. And group 9, the last group, with Team Rocket from Australia leading with 9 points, but many games remain. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me in this Connecticut adventure that didn't have a happy ending, 1 win, 3 losses, not what I was hoping for. We'll continue with my games for the Chessanity tournament that took place recently. 3 rounds there, 3 games, 3 videos. But thanks for watching. Thanks to the subscribers. If you have not subscribed until now, please click the subscribe button. And thanks to the likes, and we had quite a lot of likes until now. And also to the positive, nice comments we get from time to time. I'm Harry Laseniziris. This is my grecochess YouTube channel. Ladies and gentlemen, goodbye.